everybody. So great to see you guys. Hello, Taiho. All right, my love. So what I was saying is that we are reaching now the last week of this alchemical transformation challenge. We have been kind of working slowly from the energetic, biochemical, emotional, inner alchemy. We are now moving out into the physical aspect of the alchemy and the transmutation process. So this week is going to be a powerful week where we're going to get really into the meat and potatoes of looking at how we utilize creative life force in a way that is nourishing, healing, transformative, and really empowering for humanity and for your spiritual journey. Okay, so this is a very important part. And so today we're going to talk about how to prepare the body for transmutation, taking a look at primordial life force that runs through us, that creative primordial life force, and how to we learned about a lot about the clearing and the transmutation process of the inner alchemy, turning that low vibrational essence into high vibrational co-creative life force. And so in today's presentation, we're going to be talking a little bit about the union, the aspect of union and sexual energy and how it embeds and codes information in the body. How do we store sexual information and how do we release sexual information? And that's including the vibrational energy and frequency of that exchange. So this is important because it's not just about the intercourse aspect of it, but it's also the energetic aspect of exchanges. All of the information that we're talking about right now has everything to do with exchange of life force with others, and in your, especially those that have a hard time manifesting, bringing into fruition your dreams, the things that you're hoping to achieve. When those become stagnant, it's usually because we have the sacral and the throat chakra and the center meridian clogged up emotionally from the first, second, and third chakra. So how do we open those runways up is by doing the emotional shadow work that allow you to begin to open up and allow yourself to access into a higher state of frequency. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into it so we can start talking about what that is. Okay, let's get started, guys. Welcome. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. All right. So when we talk about union, let's talk about sexual information, sexual data. When this information gets stored within the body, we are deeply, deeply interconnecting with one another. And in order to understand the impact of what that does in the physical body, and this is not just physical union, this is also interdimensional union, but impacts the body in a more crystallized solid form in the physical. So please do keep this in mind, okay? So at the heart of the universe is a steady, insistent beat, the sound of cycles in sync. These factors of synchrony occur spontaneously, excuse me, guys, tired, almost as if nature has an eerie yearning for order. Okay, so I got this quote because this is part of this incredible book that I invite you to read if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about the morphogenetic field and how form comes into shape, into this self-organized matter that begins to function in a way that creates a symphony of balance in our physical bodies. And this is important to understand because when we talk about sex and union, when two individuals are coming together, there is a powerful merging that is occurring in the physical bodies. And that merging is the opening and closing of energy runways of life force that run through the physical body. So whenever we have a blockage of life force within the body, it literally shifts the vibrational frequency that we are sharing with the other person. And I'm going to go into that in just a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about first how two individuals come together for this union in the first place. Now, our relationships, as a result of this model of self-organized intelligence in the universe, relationships are never random. They are always orchestrated and always in alignment with resonance. There's always a reason why couples are brought together. And you can look back at your history, your dating history, or your history with your partner, and begin to understand how the patterns of relationships during this process and tonight's meditation. I want you to kind of observe your history of patterns of relationships. What brought you into those relationships? What are the resonant patterns that you're playing? Are there role plays of parent, so mother and father, which play a tremendous amount of influence in the kind of partner that you're going to be finding and the partner that you are attracted to? And these attraction keys are essentially primarily coming from the subconscious mind, everything that we have accumulated from the womb to allow us to understand safety, security, and exchange, the way that we are going to be exchanging with the world around us. So this is important because the way that our mother held us in the womb, the kind of emotions that we felt from her while in the gestation process, create a perception about the divine feminine that allows us to either very easily trust our internal guidance system, our intuitive higher faculties, or sever our connection to them. And at the time of birth, that the birth is a very violent, traumatic experience that we are leaving such a comfortable space into a very open environment. And this is the representation of the masculine energy that the child begins to feel at the time of birth. The relationship that the child, man or woman, has with the father is really important because it provides a clear understanding on protection, boundaries, how exchanges are going to occur, and how primarily a person will put into action their intuitive guidance and any kind of things that drive them into action. So these are the representations of feminine and masculine energies in a human being. And essentially, as we are growing up through our childhood up until the age of 7, we are formulating base programs that allow us to navigate our everyday life experience based on these perceptions that we have produced and we have created within us. And these perceptions create an internal guidance through our frequency, through resonance, through the information that we hold, the emotional information that we hold within the body, creates a certain vibrational frequency that allows us to become in tune with others that are matching this vibrational frequency. So this is really huge to understand because as you begin to really settle into this law of attraction, which is really about frequency. Okay, the law of attraction is about the subconscious programming that creates frequency. It's not about the external happy face, it's about the deep belief systems. So if your belief systems are that we are helpless, or that we are moving along with patriarchal concepts of society and self and identity and sex and separation in society, or vice versa, matriarchal ideas, they create imbalance. Any of those greater opposites are going to create an imbalance in how we navigate our reality. And they take our vibrational frequency out of balance. The frequency of humankind, for a human to have a frequency expression, the human, and let me put it this way: in order for the human to be able to be sovereign, and in order for them to define and begin to make choices that are sovereign in their life, they have to balance both feminine and masculine perceptions, feminine and masculine life force energy within them, which means that the shadow work, the emotional work, has to be done. Why? Because the emotions that are the product of belief systems. Emotions are product of belief systems. So if our emotions are charged with belief systems of the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine, this is what makes up what we think we are. And those profound belief systems are essentially what make us a match for the exact pairing to that belief system. So this is an interesting image to look at, because wounded feminine that is playing out power roles or lack of power roles, weakness and manipulation, will usually complementary find a partner that will also play into those roles. Okay, so these are the ways that we are attracting at the deep subconscious level. That's why shadow work is really important, because this literally makes up everything that we are as a magnet. And it goes really deep, because as you begin to look at your ancestral lineages, as you begin to look at your parents' relationship, your grandparents' relationship, their great-great-grandparents' relationship, you begin to notice certain patterns. And this is really powerful information for you in your healing process, in your integration, and in your process of healing your life force, because you begin to understand what are the main programs that hinder you from accessing abundance, relationships, having healthy boundaries, and repeating trauma. It is absolutely essential to understand this. So both men and women store this emotional data as frequency within the body, which is stored within the nervous system and is also stored within the muscle tissue of the body, not muscle. Okay, so the body is completely made up of this information. And it really shows in the way a person has facial expressions, the way that they walk, the way that they stand, the way that they present themselves, the way that they express body language in the world, as they navigate the world. All of these are a direct reflection of core subconscious belief systems about themselves. And so even factors that make certain people attracting to you are going to mirror certain aspects and attributes of these embodied energy information in the body. Okay, so just like we see these pictures of these heat centers, okay, every single one of these bodies are holding specific emotional frequency in their body, and it shows up how certain body parts light up energetically. This is where energy is condensed. Let's say love, the entire body is illuminated with this yellow light, warmer life force. Okay, this is all imaging of heat within the body with different emotions. Okay, so when a person has anxiety, the heat is, or the majority of the life force is condensed in a certain area. Okay, so this information that we're looking at here, as you can see, the more expansive the emotion is, the more they are illuminated evenly through the body, and the more that they have a brighter life force within them, a more condensed life force. The more depressed, the more out of connection with their own emotional body that they are, the less they will have that life force pulsing through them in an intentional co-creation. Okay, so this plays an incredibly important role when it comes to union, because in addition to how the body is storing emotional data, memories, it's storing its emotional energetic patterns and how we express as energy. And our field, let's say the aura or the multidimensional body, which consists of the 13-dimensional layers of your body. Most of us are just working here within the first 7, maybe, if you are quite aware of yourself and you're beginning to work and activate your intuition. And so what happens is that essentially, ideally, the body that is in balance is evenly expressing frequency and has done shadow work. But the bodies that are not in control of their energetic space, that are not mindful in the present moment, end up having really open or tears or imbalanced aspects in their field. What does this mean? What it means is that everywhere that we have openings or tears or distorted life force in our physical body as a result of blockages, this is exactly what begins to merge when we unite with a partner. Okay, so let's take a look at the physical body. These emotions, blockages, and debris that becomes debris over time as it crystallizes. So if we have a very strong belief system from childhood that the female is dangerous or not safe or imbalanced in some way because mother was not emotionally there or even attentive to us, then we're going to have an encoded, recorded, and embedded response: emotional, psycho-emotional, physical, energetic, and electromagnetic in the body. The entire multidimensional body is affected by this. So the nervous system, the muscle systems of the body that are storing information are also storing that kind of program and that memory in the body. So at the time of union, right, we take a look at the hertz and the vibrational frequency of each individual, and these merge. Okay, so when there is a merging between these two individuals. And what happens is that frequency, either whoever is spinning at a faster rate will be the one absorbing and receiving. Okay, so what happens? Let's take a look at what happens. These are communication pathways of coherent structures. Okay, so this is a really beautiful study that you can check out. I will have it in our documents on the website. And by the way, you probably won't have access to the challenge anymore just because it's a automated 30-day calendar that ended in the end of January. And I'm going to move that into another web page for all of you to access. So don't worry, you're not losing the slides. You can always revisit that, and I will have that on my website. So all of these slides will be there for you to access, as well as all of the sources so that you can do your own research and take a look at it yourself. Okay, but in this figure, this is out of an incredible research paper, a scientific research paper about coherence and how higher states of coherence are more productive and more enhancing for organisms. Okay, so in any set of oscillating structures, such as neurons, shared resonance leads to increased and faster energy information flows, because energy information flows work together in sync and are thus amplified or coherent, rather than being out of sync, incoherent. Okay. And in the absence of coherence, inputs arrive at random phases of the excitability cycle and will have a lower effective connectivity. This is super important because right here in this scientific study about coherence helps us understand the law of attraction in regards to the laws of accident and the higher laws of the morphogenetic field and how we come together. Because in this little paragraph, we are understanding the laws of coherence and incoherence. When we are in coherence, the way that we communicate is in alignment. There is complete open flow of life force exchange that is balanced between two individuals. Okay, so when there isn't coherence, then this becomes an issue. There is none of that. Now, I'm not just talking about communication. Okay, that's That's one way of interchanging, but we're talking about life force exchange and what creates attraction. Because on top of this layer of incoherence, there's another layer that's the psychological layer of trauma responses, which are deeply memorized within our body. And even though there is, so let's hold on. Before I continue in that direction, I just want to quickly drill in this thought, because what happens when we are incoherent, in the absence of coherent, inputs arrive at random. Okay. So what does that mean when we talk about the law of attraction and the attraction of two individuals? Is that now we are going through what is random? Well, random is playing by the larger laws of the morphogenetic field, which functions in the law of karma or in the law of accident, which is creating two life forces that are opposing, that will create and generate life force together. They will create impulses of transmutation for both organisms. So the union between these two individuals that are meeting at random, so random by the laws of the higher order, essentially become very karmic, because they are operating. Anytime that we go dormant, anytime that we are unconscious, we are operating by the cyclical patterns of the karmic cycle that allow us to relive trauma or to repeat traumatic patterns, which are encoded within our subconscious resonance. So that would be this random, incoherent union. To be incoherence means that each individual is completely conscious, aware, and co-creating, and therefore the union becomes coherent. So this is electromagnetic, psychological, and energetic in the body. So what happens is that these out of sync cycles of communication, every single union that we come into, that's why, is an opportunity for expansion, growth, and evolution. Every single one, because again, it is the repeating of a pattern in order to break. It is the opportunity to transcend limitations of our ancestral lineage, and in order to shift trauma. So if we take a look at now the morphogenetic field, let's tune into what that means on the higher level. On the right side is this picture that is produced by Rupert Sheldrake's incredible and beautiful, fascinating research on the morphogenetic field. And on the left side is an image that I see when I look at the multidimensional body and the morphogenetic field. And I was just fascinated by how similar these networks of information are being seen as an interconnected network. It really does look like this. And we are spheres within spheres, microcosms of information. And we are fractals. So within that, we have infinite universes encoded within our own cells, the cells of our body, but also the greater fields of our body make up the cells of a larger organism. And therefore, how we come together is directed by this higher order, this self-organized order, in which it intelligently allocates humans, even on the planet Earth. Okay, please keep in mind the natural order of this entire cosmos and universe. There is not a single thing that is out of order, or that's not moving in balance or in place. Every single atom in this entire particle, neutron in this universe is functioning in its designated order. That includes you as an individual organism. Every single relationship that you've had, every single experience that you had is absolutely in alignment with your highest expression, because it gives you an opportunity to wake up, because the purpose of this earth plane is to learn how to experience that transmutation, or to explore the possible transmutation of the lower into the higher, right? So that's what this duality is for. It's to experience these contrasts through these experiences. So these unions that we come into, both physically and interdimensionally, and I'm even talking about the hybridization program, which we'll talk about in another series, but the union of life force and how it is utilized in these fields really changes in regards to how you, as the sovereign human that is in charge of their organism, chooses to redirect their life force. Okay. So within our bodies, however we begin to activate higher strands of DNA, we begin to access higher ranges of frequency, which begins to open up the resonance of ourselves to higher unions, higher potential relationships. When we lower the frequency or we find a partner that is incoherent, then the communication breaks and it becomes this cyclical trauma again. And it's not just about verbal communication. We're talking about energetic communication, energetic exchange. It's about the exchange. So in interdimensional contact as well, when we begin to open ourselves up to interdimensional beings, this is also another way that we begin to understand whether our exchanges are parasitic or if they are more in alignment with our highest expression. Okay. So the coiling of this universe as we are moving, this is how the universe, all this entire organism is moving. And as I mentioned before, this spiral movement and the way that this is moving is essentially going through different octaves of frequency as a collective. And right now we are moving from a lower frequency into a higher frequency. We are at the pinnacle point of transformation, or I should say navigation into a higher octave collectively. We are moving from the 13 to the 21, which is, some people think of it as the fifth dimension, but in reality, we are moving through infinite dimensions simultaneously. Everyone is going in their own journey. Everyone has access and activates different dimensional layers to themselves. Therefore, they are having access to many dimensions. Okay, so some of you are navigating 11th dimension all the time. You're constantly in there and you're coming back and you're interconnecting. And some of you are only within the physical realm. You know, you're not really going beyond the 7th dimensional plane. It's all about the physical experience for you. There's nothing wrong with any of those. These are the choices of each one of these cells of consciousness that has come here to experience and is collectively creating balance and harmony for the greater collective, right? And gently, we all evolve simultaneously and collectively. So what does that mean within our genetic structure? Within the genetic structure, everything that we think is dark DNA, everything that we cannot see, is actually what is encoding within the morphogenetic field. So it's within that morphogenetic field that we find the interconnection instruction manual that binds each one of us as one. You, me, that are here on this call, all of us that are watching, that you watch this video, and the universe, world at large, all the living organisms are interconnected through this field. And we move around this field by resonance. So it is the same way when a physical human body moves to another country or moves to another city, you are moving to another vibrational location. Even the vibration of those cities or towns are different, and they are a match to what you are now coming into. Okay, there's always a natural order to how we navigate this field. So that being said, just a really quick review of the morphogenetic field, just so we can really understand the union and what happens at that moment, because the field plays a huge role in that. The human organism is a hologram of self-organized information. The human organism is a fractal projection of its origin source. This self-organized information knows how and what to project into the physical form by its resonance. Okay. And this is in regards to an example of a study that was done utilizing the planarian worm. And when they removed the eyeball of the worm, they didn't trigger any other part of the body or the brain or any part of the organism, but the organism naturally knew that it had to regenerate the eyeball. And planarians are just these incredible magical creatures that just regenerate themselves. They're asexual and they have like two heads or two tails. They're just incredible creatures. They don't have two tails. They can have two heads, and they can split into two complete individual organisms as well. Okay, so you can study them. They're incredibly amazing. But essentially, it has encoded within its organism the ability to recreate that eyeball and know exactly what to build as a result of the collective field and what it needs in order to maintain this organism in its optimal operation. So in the same way, this kind of network, this holographic network of intelligence, self-organizing intelligence, is similar to what we see in phantom limbs. It's similar to what we see in pranic healing, when we are directing life force into a body in order to heal and regenerate limbs and regenerate arms. And it's the same way that we see the fetus in the womb and how it interconnects and regenerates itself, knows exactly what to build in order to create a little human fetus. Okay, so all of these things are examples of this self-organized information, and we see it in nature and within ourselves very clearly. So we cannot negate this very important aspect of ourselves as human existence when we think about union, because it plays an important role in both the connection of a pair of two humans and in the creation of life. Okay, the hologram of experiences called life, the human organism, manifests into awareness, is selected collectively by the intelligence of the morphogenetic field. So essentially, what this means is that each one of us is born into this reality, never by chance, never by accident. You're not in the wrong planet. You're not in the wrong race. You didn't come at the wrong time. I hear this a lot from my clients, that, we are going through some difficult times and people feel like, they weren't supposed to be in this terrible planet because they are focusing on these negative aspects of reality. But in reality, you're not only part, you are essential to this. Do you see these little dots? This one little dot right here. Do you think that this little dot would show up in the wrong place in an intelligent, self-organized system as complex as this? Yeah, so everything that you do, um, even when you are unconscious, you are going along with the natural order of nature. And of course, your organism, when you are unconscious, you are rotating and you're spinning at a lower rate. So you're going to just go along with the patterns that are available for you within this field, within the experience of existing within this sphere, which is what we are when we're dormant. But when you wake up, you begin to choose, and you are sovereign within the limitations of the reach of your level of consciousness. Okay, so as conscious as you become, the highest level of consciousness that you reach allows you to navigate more, because you become the whole. Becoming conscious and becoming one means that you are becoming aware of yourself as this little dot, as this whole dot, as this little dot, as this whole dot, as this little dot, as this whole dot. That's what it means to become conscious. Okay, that's actually what it means to become whole. So within all of these little dots that you are looking at here is yourself becoming aware of yourself as this spiral, as this multiverse, as this universe moving and experiencing this, what we can call ascension, which means your frequency expands. Essentially, you're not really ascending anywhere, you're becoming one. You're becoming everything is essentially what it means. Okay, so it's really important to understand that, because when we talk about union, we need to take this into consideration. The way that we unite with one another is important, because the frequency is is doing something. There is an intelligence to that union. The morphogenetic field in an infinite exploration of the collective through the evolution, and the morphogenetic field provides mechanistic instructions, but also the availability for an organism to experience higher forms. This is the beauty and the intelligence of this existence that we live in. We have the ability of experiencing higher forms organically, energetically through our vibrational frequency. And we do that by beginning to spin at a higher rate, right? We become the Merkaba. But we also, through that, not only just the Merkaba, we become all the forms in which allow us to become and navigate as all dimensions. This is how we are able to access higher forms. And we do that in the ability to allow us to navigate in dream state, higher levels of awareness, looking at all the fractals of ourselves in which we exist and have existed and will be existing, waking up each one of these fractals of ourselves. This is how we become one, right? So again, spheres within spheres within spheres, fractal universes, we begin to really access into that, okay? So the morphogenetic field of a human is made up of an electric field, an epigenetic field, intermeshed in with the quantum field, the gravity field, the energy field, the magnetic field, which I tend to look at this magnetic field over just gravity, which does play a role in certain terms, but it's more about the magnetic field that we become. So you're dealing with all of these layers of your expression. Okay, these layers of your expression are what are uniting in a union. So when we talk about frequency being a resonance, we're talking about a lot. Okay, we're talking about a lot. And what happens because we are these subtle energy bodies, when we come into union, the union that is created by two bodies, coherent or incoherent, play a tremendous role in the kind of exchange that is available between two humans. Whether you are, okay, so let's talk about what happens in the spin, okay? So what makes up your frequency? Let's go back to that really quickly. The higher the frequency, the higher you're spinning. The higher your vortex is spinning, the higher life force is moving through you, the more you become higher forms. The lower you're spinning, the lower you're moving, the less life force is moving through you, and you have all kinds of debris and stuff in your life, in your field. So when there's a union between two life forces, remember what happens when there is an incoherence, and what does it mean to have an incoherence? An organism that is spinning slow and an organism that's spinning fast, the one that's spinning the fastest becomes like a white hole. The one that is spinning less becomes like a black hole. So this is because, again, this is how the universe functions. It's made up of white and black holes. We are white and black holes essentially through our vortice centers, because the vortice centers of our bodies are both made up of contractive and expansive life force that when they come into full fruition, cleansing, and balanced function, they begin to move life force quickly through the body, higher bands of life force through the body that allow the spin of your vortex. The spin of your vortex depends directly with how your chakras are spinning, the health of your chakras, which correlates directly to the emotional data that you are projecting and that you are accessing input and output into your experience. So remember that the emotional body is essentially the key of all of this information. How we navigate our everyday life experiences is based in the emotional body. So what happens when there is a black hole and a white hole uniting together? That one person will take on, or the most unconscious of those two, the more parasitic the individual becomes. Parasitic is a black hole, which simply means one that needs to take from external. The humans that take from the external in order to fill the internal are parasitic. So what happens is that they begin to take. And so the exchange in the union becomes parasitic because there is no balance. So the human body essentially begins to take all kinds of frequency data and accumulates it in the body subconsciously. So this toroidal field becomes one when there is a union. Okay? When there's a union, these two toroidal fields become one. And that unison of that toroidal field is a merging of bioelectric data, which is also organic information through DNA. So when there is an intercourse, the DNA, so now we're going to go into even a deeper part of it, which we're going to expand more on this entire week. But our DNA is essentially coiled information that is in the egg and the sperm. And when that information unites, creates this incredible implosion of life force that seeds a new soul into this new fractal. So everything that each one of these partners is holding within their field is transferred and merging with one another. So they have to find some level of coherence. And couples that spend long time together over time can either build a resonance coherence, where they begin to have telepathic communication, they begin to have very intuitive connectiveness. The connectivity between them allows for wider bands of communication. Again, the more coherent, the more they become in sync, literally, intuitively, biophysically. So in a union that is incoherent, those channels of communication, both intuitive and physical, are severed. And the way that we output our sexual life force energy is essentially really important, because it really dictates what we are in resonance with. The way that you feel about creation is one of the most important aspects of your essence in your ability to become a manifester. Why? Because let's take a look at creator levels once again. What happens when our creative states? Okay, let's find that. Find the slide. Find the slide. Finding the slide. It'd be great. They would just show up. It's amazing how I can never find the slide. Okay. So what happens when we are in separation? We're totally in effect. Again, we become the black hole, low spinning spiral, parasitic. The higher that we get, we come into unity, pure knowing, creation, right? The seventh level of that, your seventh chakra activation of your intuitive abilities, is your ability to create, to co-create. That's because in order to co-create, there has to be integrative union within you. Remember the marriage, the Vesica Pisces that's created within you, the internal marriage between the dualities, the rebalancing and heightening of feminine and wounded masculine into highest coherence operating state. This is essentially how the human comes into its highest form. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at all of the programs that we have on sex, essentially, on creation. And all of the limitations that we have within our physical body that we may have picked up, any debris, any kind of stagnant sexual energy, traumas. Sexual trauma is one of the biggest weapons of this matrix. Excuse me. Why? Because it is the deepest inversion of life force. It is the deepest destruction of nature, which is why sex has become perverse and inverted as a result of the inception of belief systems of shame and guilt, which are one of the lowest forms of states of belief, because they completely inhibit the ability for the human to activate its higher faculties. It blocks and it severs it completely. So how do you put the human in a state of absolute control where you have the ability to master and navigate their needs and their desires and manipulate them into good functioning consumers, good functioning human beings that need to require from the external, right? So it becomes literally this instant cycle of we are trained to become parasitic, in other words, in the society, because we are holding on to belief systems of shame and guilt. Okay, so we want to take a look at these programs and begin to release them out of the body. Because why? Because we talked about one of the most purest, most potent life forces of the human is that they are able to utilize their sexual energy, their creative life force energy, in order to raise it up into the pineal gland, into the brain, and to transmute that into its highest form within the body. And we cannot pool dense life force. If your life force is polluted with debris, and the debris is programs of shame, guilt, limiting belief systems, you will not be able to pull that life force up into your field. It'll be very difficult. You won't have the tools, you won't have the abilities, and it'll be very difficult. So this is both a process of inner and outer alchemy. Okay, so let's get started. I want you all to get really nice and comfortable. And you're going to start by closing your eyes and inhaling deeply and exhaling. With every breath you take, as you allow yourself to come into a state of complete relaxation, complete calm, as you begin to connect with your physical body, go ahead and focus on the root chakra at the base of the spine. You're going to shrink that chakra down to the size of a dime. You're going to go up to the sacral chakra. Go ahead and visualize shrinking that chakra down to the size of a dime. We are moving out of survival state into a neutral state, reading state. Expanding our field. Go up into the solar plexus, shrink that chakra now. Go up into your heart chakra. Go ahead and visualize expanding that heart chakra as wide as possible. Opening the center of unconditional love. Going up into the throat chakra, go ahead and expand that life force in the throat. Expanding into the center of communication and expression. Go up into the third eye now, expanding your third eye, opening the center of intuition. Breathing. Okay, go ahead and focus on activating your 7th and your 8th chakra. Activating the crown. Illuminating the crown with your highest vibrational frequency. And go ahead and send that down to the 7th. Activating the center of intuition, abundance, love, consciousness, joy, harmony, creativity, money, all the exchange energies, sexual energy, creativity, and your purpose. What are you here to do? Your health. Fill that in. Setting the intention that you are in alignment with your highest expression at all times. With every breath you take, breathing down into the base of the spine, inhale and exhale. Go ahead and visualize bringing green life force up into the body, creating a vortex of energy. Go ahead and visualize that life force rotating all around you. Breathing deeply. I'm going to bring down from the cosmos a powerful ray of golden light that comes down to the crown of the head, create a vortex all around you. And as this green earth and cosmic energy begin to rotate around you, go ahead and take 10% of that and send it back down to the center of the earth. Let's go ahead and take 80% of that, send it up your spine, out from the crown of the head, coating the outside of your sphere. You're going to take that final 10% into the body now as you inhale deeply, bringing in that life force into the body, into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level, transforming any darkness into white light. Okay. So now that we're here, we're going to tune into the body. I want you to see a room full of karmic contracts. Go ahead and shine your crown, your 8th chakra down on this contract, on all of these contracts, and eliminate the contracts from the room. Breathing deeply. With every breath you take, as you allow yourself to clear that room, I want you to fill that room with your creative color. Setting the intention that everything that you are manifesting from this moment on is in alignment with your highest expression. Breathing deeply. Very good. So as you allow yourself now to come into a state of complete observation, I want you to begin to observe your relationship with sex. Notice the initial emotions that it triggers in you. And we're looking strictly at your relationship, the way that you feel about it, whether it's confusion, joy, happiness, sadness. Go ahead and check into your body. What part of the body tenses up when you think about that? And as you begin to observe the emotions that begin to come up, notice any insecurities, any emotions that begin to arise. Go ahead and focus on those emotions. And I want you to be present with those emotions. Go ahead and name out the emotions that come up. And allow yourself to focus on the strongest emotion. As you focus on the beliefs. The beliefs. What are the beliefs that begin to come up now? Take a look at that. Notice if your body feels contracted. Are you contracting, becoming tight, becoming shrinking down, tensing up? Or are you expanding, feeling expansive? Go ahead and focus on these belief systems that start to come up. What are the main emotions that come up in these belief systems? Take a look at that. And as you name out these emotions, go ahead and take a look at the body. What part of the body tenses up? Take yourself there. As you sit with this emotion, I want you to be absolutely present with this emotion. Name out the emotions that come up. If it feels uncomfortable, describe the discomfort with emotions. If the belly feels tight, if the chest feels tight, if your throat feels tight, if your back tenses up or your abdomen muscles tense up, it's telling you everything you need to know about your relationship, about your belief systems. So just observe, be very mindful, watching yourself and what comes up, what's being triggered. And go ahead and tune into the emotion that most comes up for you. I want you to be absolutely present with this emotion. Why is it that you feel this way? Observe. Why do you feel this way? Go ahead and ask yourself, what is it that causes or triggers you to feel this way. And when we ask these questions, make sure that you're not going into stories or events, but you're trying to focus on the emotions. What triggers those emotions? Don't get stuck in the trauma. Observe the trauma, acknowledge the trauma, and come back to the body in order to understand the emotions that it triggered in you. Trauma being any experience that caused this emotion. And go ahead and see if this emotion is triggered by someone else or yourself. Who triggers this emotion most in you? Take a look at that. Is it yourself or the other? Are they male or female? And go ahead and focus now on the relationship with this sex. And as you begin to observe the role that they play in your life, feminine or masculine energy, the sex doesn't matter. It's about the energy that they hold. Are they imbalanced feminine, imbalanced masculine? What role are they playing in your perception about sex, about yourself, about your belief systems around sex? Breathing deeply, remembering to close the first three chakras, expanding the heart, expanding the throat, expanding the third eye, coming into absolute neutrality as we observe these experiences. We are just exploring. We are just explorers through our subconscious mind and through our emotional body. So as you lovingly and gently allow yourself to see truth about your perceptions, this is how we become liberated from limiting beliefs, suffering, and trauma. So as you observe the roles that are being played, notice your participation. How do we participate in this interaction in our beliefs? How do we participate in reinforcing these beliefs? Do we play out wounded feminine or wounded masculine? Do we give our power away? Are we overpowered by our lower desires, primal desires, as opposed to love? Is there even love in the equation when we think of intercourse and connection with another? Take a look at that. This plays a very important role in the way that we see ourselves and the world around us. And just observe without judgment of any kind. And just take a look at yourself, at the wounded part of you, the one that you are judging, whether it's yourself, that you inflict suffering on yourself, or whether it's someone else that inflicts suffering on you. Take a look at yourself, the wounded part of you. What is it that it needs in order to embody the ability to create and co-create? The ability to be able to express itself in a healthy manner, in a balanced manner, utilizing this creative life force. Take a look at that. What does it need? First, observe what would it need from the external, let's say a partner. What do you need in order to be able to exercise this activity in a way that is productive, co-creative, constructive, healing, even spiritual? This is really important. You can write it down. Okay. Now go ahead and take a look at yourself. What is it that you need from yourself? What is it that you need from yourself? And this is where we start to look at the programs in which we are imbalanced, feminine and masculine. What role are you playing out in your relationships of exchange, whether they are sexual, whether they are intimate with partners, family, friends, whether it's with the world outside of you? Are you a co-creative vortex, a conduit of life force? Or are we playing a wounded feminine or wounded masculine role that makes our vortex spin low, slow, and we are holding on to debris, holding on to the past, fearful of the future, fearful of the now, fearful of truth? How are you co-creating in this moment? What do you need in order to be able to co-create from your highest expression? Take a look at that. Okay. Go ahead and provide your wounded self everything that it requires. See yourself. You can visualize yourself saturating yourself with life force. Visualize yourself absorbing that life force within your body. You become your own source of everything that you require. See that now. As you take a nice deep breath and you see yourself healing, becoming more integrated, more whole. I want you to see all of the partners that you've had in your life, sexual partners. You're going to see them in a crowd in front of you. You're going to shine your crown light on top of them. You're going to see a contract. And this also works with your current partners. The idea is to neutralize the imbalanced exchanges that we have held and encoded within our genetic structure. So as you shine your light and you see those contracts, just observe, what are these contracts about? What's the pattern that you begin to see? Take a look at the pattern with these relationships. Do they look familiar? Do they look like our parents' patterns? Do they look like our grandparents' patterns? Do they look like our cultural patterns? Patterns of modern society? What kind of patterns are you playing? Do you play a role in? How are they toxic? How are they imbalanced? How are they counter-creative for you? And as you allow yourself to now dissolve those contracts, if you're ready to let them go ahead and shine your crown on top of those contracts and eliminate them. Go ahead and inhale deeply, calling back your life force from all of these partners. And eliminating, releasing anything that you took on that doesn't belong to you. I want you to focus on your body now. You're going to speak to every cell of your body. And we're going to gently and lovingly ask every cell of the body to begin to release any of these programs that we have held on to that are limiting belief systems that cause us suffering and that make us play out the roles of separation in our relationships with ourselves and others. Go ahead and eliminate programs of unworthiness, of shame, of guilt. And visualize that every cell in your body is beginning to release. And we also have programmed any kind of pain and suffering that we have took on from our partner. Allow yourself to release that from every cell in your body. As you're doing this, I want you to visualize a powerful white light. And you're going to bring it into the sexual organs. Go ahead and visualize a vortex of light in the sexual organs and connecting to the perineum. You're going to visualize this vortex beginning to absorb all of the muscle memory in the body, the tissue, the nervous system, to begin to release these patterns of survival out from the nervous system in the body. As you begin to allow this main meridian line in the body to begin to clear out, allowing that vortex to clear out all of the blockages in the endocrine system, in the sexual organs, in all the chakras that are holding on to programs of the inversion, in which we are holding on to shame, guilt, fear, unworthiness, separation, anger. Any part of us that feels guilt or shame for our desires, or feels that we are impure or not good, Go ahead and see them clearing out. We're going to work on that in just a moment, but for now, clear it out. Letting go. And as you clear the body, you're going to gently visualize reintegrating fractals of yourself from your partners, releasing anything you took on, neutralizing. If it's your current partner, it doesn't mean that we're cutting cords with them. It means that you're neutralizing the imbalanced exchanges that unite the partnership. And this will help bring the partnership into neutrality once again. Kind of rebalance or have a fresh start, essentially, an opportunity for healing. So don't be afraid to let go of all of these programs and fears. You might learn a lot about your partner. Breathing. And as you eliminate this from the body, begin to see that vortex pulling out of the body into the center of the earth, going into a violet flame as it transmutes darkness into light. I want you to see all of the fractals of yourself. Anyone that has experienced sexual abuse, anyone that has experienced their boundaries being crossed in a way that they didn't feel comfortable in any way, in relationships with family, friends, colleagues, anyone, even virtually. Go ahead and visualize taking back your life force and releasing anything you took on. We're expanding the sphere from the most intimate primal life force exchange to the most expansive exchanges. Go ahead and see all of your exchanges interdimensionally. Or do you play the same pattern interdimensionally? Are we more parasitic? Go ahead and release everything that you took on. And you're going to go ahead and see all of your beautiful fractals now that have healed are now merging into one self in front of you. Go ahead and inhale deeply, integrating them into your body as you begin to merge them in with the root, the sacral, solar, heart, throat, third eye. 7 bodies in, 7 bodies out, all charges down to 0, negative, infinite. As you allow your body to wake up consciousness at the cellular level, as it begins to become more in alignment with nature, with balance, with healthy, life-promoting, life-creating exchanges in order to be able to come into a higher state of creation. Observe the body as you begin to open the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar. Go ahead and release any kind of limiting belief systems and fears that you have about your own self, your own desires. And I want you to ask yourself, what's at the root of these desires? If you are ashamed of them, or if you judge them as negative, what is it that your soul is needing and is asking through these desires? Take a look at that. And what you'll find is that you are just seeking your source. You are seeking love. Real love, not romantic love, but real source of life force. And that can be manifested as romantic love, but you will find that the deeper soul is seeking something more profound. It manifests through many desires, many needs in the physical realm, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just need to understand it and nourish it. Go ahead and activate now your crown as you activate the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th chakra. Go ahead and bring down source of white light down into your body. And I want you to fill your body with whatever it is that you require in order to satiate those desires, those root core needs of yourself as a human, as yourself, as an enlightened soul, as life force, as you merge with your source. Anchor that white light down into your body like a pillar of white light through the crown of your head, down the throat, down the spine, activating the spine, down through the perineum, into the center of the earth. As you bring this pillar of white light, bringing balance and healing into the body, activating the cells, waking up the cells. Breathing deeply. As you begin to feel yourself, you will allow yourself to feel more love. Right now, the emotion that enters the body is love, joy, bliss. As you begin to enter into an ecstasy state, I want you to hold this feeling for a moment. This bliss, this beautiful bliss state that you're in is one step from this orgasmic state. Now, those of you that are familiar with what orgone energy is, orgasmic energy, when all physical dissolves and we become one with all. So you create this bliss state in your body. This is source. And you have it available to you at any time that you become conscious, that you open your awareness, that you create the internal marriage internally of the feminine and masculine integration to create higher vibrational frequency. A conduit of life is what you become. So as you see yourself here, embracing this blissful state, go ahead and open your eyes. And as you come back into the room, allow yourself to connect with your body, connect with your surroundings. And with your eyes open, allow yourself to feel this blissful state. Allow yourself to observe this neutral awareness. Very good. Welcome back, guys. You guys did amazing. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was such a pleasure to be here. It is such an honor to connect with you. If you guys have any questions, put it in the chat. This was a really important and really, it can be a very heavy practice. So take your time. And you might want to revisit parts of that where I'm sure you can spend a lot of time kind of looking at your patterns and the programs that we have. And that it will really help to heal any kind of trauma around exchanges. Okay. This work is absolutely essential to your ability to become a conduit of life force. Because if we are holding on to trauma and debris of the most primal life force, primordial life force in our physical body, it completely lowers the frequency where you won't be able to move forward. So this is a really important part. And this is actually the part that maintains humanity at the suppression and in a state of helplessness and dormant state. Because nobody is taught to address these issues in a way that can be healing and nourishing for the body. So this is super important. So I invite you to take some time and you can revisit this. All right. I want to thank you so much for having me today. Thank you. I'm going to check really quickly the chat. Hi, everyone. Hi, John. Great to see you. Pamela, welcome. We have a question. What if one has a high-ranking reptile that has controlled sexual mayhem in one's life for many lifetimes and manipulates mine in past partner sexual energy? I'm doing my best to keep him at bay. So I'm going to do a video on this because it's important and I have questions about this a lot. But we need to look at our patterns and our desires because subconsciously there's something that is being fulfilled with that exchange. And I know that, and we really need to dig deep, because it can be anywhere from fear to the need for protection or attachment. Take a look at your relationship with father. What was that like? Because as soon as you take a look at that in this lifetime, it'll open up to why you are in resonance for this connection again. Okay, remember that we do things in cycles, as you are clearly seeing. So we need to break those cycles that make us a match to that connection, so that we no longer have to continue experiencing that. And you can definitely break it. Not only have I broken my ties in the hybridization program, but I've helped many people do it. And so if you do need more support with that, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to assist you with that. And it's important that you do, because any kind of parasitic exchange, we are participating in that. Okay, we are also parasitic, so we're a match, as we talked about resonance. Okay, thank you, Pamela. Awesome question. Coral, hello. So wonderful to see you. Pamela Rose, Danielle from Canada, welcome. Scott, thank you so much for being here. Darina, thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Great. Cropsterapi, and you, is it normal to feel like breaking down when you do meditations every day, almost like detox? So my love, if we feel really strong emotional breakdown, it's usually because, you have stuff that you're clearing out or that you need to address. There's a lot of strong emotions that need to be addressed. So what's coming up, what's being triggered, every time you feel like breaking down, connect with that emotion that's coming up and sit with it for a while and unpack it until you get to the root and heal the wounded parts of you. Who's crying? What part of you is crying? Is it the ego or the soul? Okay. And what is happening to it? Is it fearful? Mostly it'll be because it's a fear of something. What is it afraid of? What does it need in order to embody love? And how can you nourish it with that love? Love means to be able to see everything as part of ourselves, even the darkest things that have happened to us or that we've experienced in life or that we believe. Remember that separation is an illusion. So as soon as you start looking at that and begin to reverse that dynamic within you, the true healing is when we're no longer triggered by our memories, by our trauma, by past experiences, future experiences, fears. We're not triggered anymore. This is the healed, integrated self. And this is how you become a conduit of life force. So we essentially want to bring ourselves into that potential healing state. And it's a very powerful, nourishing, generative state of being. Okay. Thank you so much for your work. Thank you so much. Megan, great to have you. James, I'm trying to release attachment to past partners, but I'm still in love with one of them. What do I do? Right. So, yeah, and I didn't get to that here because we're talking about release, but the whole dynamic of love is a profound connection. But here's the thing. What love, true love, again, as I just mentioned, unconditional love is the ability to accept everything as a part of ourselves. Okay. So what happens when we accept everything as a part of ourselves? We don't have any tug and pull with anything, right? So there's no need to have or feeling that something was lost. So in the dynamic in which there is a broken heart or where there is love that's still existing in that union, there's an imbalance exchange that happened. Okay, so what happened? Something we believe was taken or something we gave too much of. Both of them are unconscious entanglements that are from an imbalanced state that are usually come from the ego. Okay, so what part of the self wants to have something as a part of themselves? True love, unconditional love, understands very well the union in absolute truth. So we need to be able to review the union and to notice where we have created fantasies about the union and what is absolute truth. When we are in love, we tend to only think about the positive aspects of things as opposed to a more neutral observation of the whole. And when you do come into the neutral observation of the whole, and you discover that you're not together, you'll notice that there's a very strong reasons why. And that even your participation in that relationship was meaningful. You subconsciously already knew what you were going to experience before you even came into that relationship. So observe the relationship and take a look at your relationship with the way that you feel. Is this coming from the unconditional soul? And if it is, it allows others, you can love them from far away. It doesn't require an attachment. And if it comes from the ego, you're going to want that for yourself. You're going to want to experience it. You're going to miss it. The feeling of missing something is this imbalanced exchange. So try to take a look at that relationship. And of course, there are always, when we clear these things, we also create new timelines for ourselves because we shift resonance. If we're tied to memories of love of the past, we need to clear that out because it's not allowing you to move forward. Your resonance is attached to something that isn't real, that doesn't even exist in the now. And potentially, if you resolve the past and you get really clear about what happened in that relationship, you can shift your resonance in such a way that maybe if that person is actually in alignment with you at this new state, you might end up together again at some point. But it's not like we're going to go into fantasies about that. It's about coming into the most highest expression of yourself in a way that will unite you with your highest potential partner. And remember, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation, there isn't a single union that isn't by perfect balance and expression. There is a lesson and a timeline for relationships. When those end, when those need to change, it needs to happen, or we end up in stagnation, or we can come into higher expansions with relationships as well. So that being in that flow state, really conscious flow state, is really important for relationships. Okay. I hope that answers that question, James, but let me know if you have any more. Thank you so much. Love you guys, Jolene. I call them gremlins, racing red flags. Crop says a lot of sadness, right? So take a look at that sadness, take a look at what we're sad about, and get deep into that. What else is there? Yes, I'm saving to get a consult with you. Thank you, Geraldine. Pamela, I can't wait. I look forward to that. Thank you so much. Jolene, awesome. I know what you mean by red flags. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Jolene. Thank you, Grace Aquarius. Robert, thank you. Pono. Yes. I do feel stopping my connection with the base and throat chakra. Yeah. Faye says, we have so much gratitude for you, beloved Geraldine. I so look forward to private session with you. Awesome, Faye. I can't wait. Sierra, how should I energetically protect myself from creeps? The staff at my gym won't help me. I thought I was safe with one autistic guy, but he groped me without my permission. Okay, so this goes really deep into trauma response and the way that we feel and we hold our energetic space. When the divine feminine heals the wounded feminine, she can heal and rise the wounded masculine. So what happens when we have a wounded feminine is that the wounded masculine comes out, okay? And when we have a wounded masculine, the wounded feminine comes out. So what's happening in this dynamic is that our masculine is wounded in such a way that we cannot hold our space. We can't embody our energetic space in a place of empowerment. So we need to take a look at the relationship with man, father, and any other man that we've experienced, and take a look at any trauma that's occurred there. We need to heal and reintegrate those fractals, come in to heal the wounded masculine in a way that we can reintegrate and generate our own internal and self-empowerment. This is the protection. The protection is to come into unconditional love in such an empowered manner that you're no longer in resonance with this parasitic dynamic. And I know for a fact that you can change this dynamic. It's a matter of holding space. I've experienced for myself being in similar circumstances where as soon as I shift my energy into a state of neutrality, it's almost as if the predator, let's say the predator, loses interest there are many energetic techniques that you can also learn in order to neutralize your energy in a body of glass so that their directed energy no longer comes towards you. Now, let's go to the higher order of this. The law of accident brings us into these kinds of parasitic and terrible circumstances that we are in constant survival. So to transcend the law of accident, when we come into our highest state of awareness, we're also going to choose to no longer be in situations that lead us into these kinds of circumstances. Whether it's whatever the circumstance is, you more consciously change your entire life to accommodate a more creative and promotive kind of experiences all around. Whether it's your career, your relationships, the time you go to the gym, whatever it is, all of it begins to shift. The universe begins to work with you. Okay, so it co-conspires with you in a way where you are constantly safe. And depending on what your soul purpose is, you're going to be reaching higher states of awareness in these same lessons. So make sure that you're always maintaining that cleansing of self-empowerment and self-healing. Okay. Awesome. Sun Lazuli, I've had fear of sexual health and getting pregnant since childhood. What did that me inherit fear from my family's resonance, or is that from a past life? Yeah, so anytime that we're afraid of getting pregnant is the way that we feel about creation, coming into life, even existing. Was mother afraid of us coming into the world? Was she afraid of getting pregnant? Was there a fear of being unsafe in the physical realm? It's all about being safe in the physical. So this is something that we need to take a look at in terms of it may be in a past life, but it's definitely in this lifetime. So definitely observe that pattern and try to reintegrate from that imbalanced experience with creation. And it has to do with the wounded masculine, because if the masculine isn't there to hold space, then we don't feel safe enough to bring life. So this is the same way as with this coherent, incoherent dynamic in co-creation. Okay. All right, my loves, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Love you so much. I hope you guys have an incredible day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Love you.